Dad stared down at his shoes. My mother asked, "So what made you come back, Pop?" "This is first-rate coffee. Can I pour myself another cup?" While Grandpa Bobby was in the kitchen, Abby nudged my father and whispered, "They really called you pain in the butt? You were so busted." "Keep it up," Dad said with a tight smile. "I'll deal with you and your brother later." Grandpa Bobby returned to a full mug and a jelly donut. He took 2 bites of the donut and said, "Here's what happened. I'm sitting in a bar in this little harbor town waiting to meet up with some dock rat who claims he saw the Amanda Rose over in the Grenadines. Anyways, they love their satellite TV down there, and so it happens that this particular cantina picks up one of the Miami stations loud and clear." "Channel 10? I asked. "That's right, Noah. So there I am, drinking a beer, minding my own business, when all of a sudden, I look up, and who do I see on the tube? Mr. Payne Lee Underwood, my own son, your own daddy." Grandpa Bobby paused and shook his woolly head. "He's wearing the latest in jailhouse fashions, a nifty puke orange jumpsuit, if I recall, and he's running off at the mouth about why he sunk some jerk's boat, all because the man was dumping toilet poo into the water." My jaw dropped so far it darn near broke my kneecaps. There was my boy in jail. Dad looked up. "Tell him what you did next, Pop." "You mean hitching a ride to Key West on that billionaire's yacht?" "He didn't hitch," my father said to me and Abby. "He stowed away." Grandpa Bobby had already given Dad the full story while they were out on the towboat searching for our dinghy. "Where'd you hide?" Abby asked. My grandfather beamed. "The wine locker, darling." "Perfect," Mom said with a sigh. "I didn't touch a drop, Don, I swear. Anyways, I knew the customs boys would sweep the yacht clean once we docked in Key West, so as soon as we cleared the harbor, I went overboard, swam to the Mallory docks, and thumbed a ride north with a red-headed insurance adjuster who tried her best to save my heathen soul. She dropped me at Tavernier, where I made camp under the Snake Creek Bridge. Found a bunch of old newspapers there. Caught up on what was happening with Payne's court case." "Why'd you start tailing me and Abby?" "Just a hunch. In one of those papers was a story where they quoted you, Noah, talking about your father. You remember that?" "Hey, it wasn't my idea." I shot a sour look at Dad. "Well, you came off like a bright, sensible young fella. Still, I couldn't help thinking that if you were just a little too much like your daddy or granddaddy, you wouldn't sit still and let this Muleman creep get away with trashing our family name. Not to mention the Atlantic Ocean." Grandpa Bobby winked, then inhaled the rest of his donut. "So I decided to keep an eye on you and Miss Abby, just in case you tried something crazy." "Thank goodness you did," Mom said. "My grandfather told us he'd been laying low during the day, fishing with a hand line under the bridge. After sunset, he'd hide out at the marina waiting for us to make a move." "Hiding where?" I asked. "Last night it was the tuna tower of a big Bertram," he said. Abby was delighted. "I hid there too. I even got video." "It's a long ways up, but a short trip down. That bald ape never knew what hit him." "His name's Luno," I said. "I don't care if his name is Mildred. I won't be sending him a get-well card." Grandpa paused to finish his coffee. Dad picked up the story. "Mom and I got home from the movies around 12:30. When we saw your beds were empty, we knew right away where you'd gone. Mom went to call the sheriff, but I said, no way, I've had enough of their hospitality. So we hopped in the pickup truck, peeled out of the driveway, and there he was, larger than life. In the middle of the road," Mom said. "No shirt, no shoes, dripping with sweat. Flailing his arms and running straight at us. 'My old man, what'd you do?' I turned very calmly to your mother and said, 'Either that's a ghost or the government's giving us some bad information.' Grandpa Bobby said he'd planned to keep his visit a secret until he saw me and Abby escape in the blue dinghy. The engine on that thing sounded like a bucket of nails in a blender. I knew you kids wouldn't get very far, he said, so I ran and fetched your folks." "Wait a minute. You would have gone all the way back to South America without even saying hello?" Abby was steaming. "Without even letting us know you were alive? That's horrible." My grandfather sat forward and took one of her hands. Now listen here, Tiger. All those years, there wasn't a day went by that I didn't want to pick up a phone and call your daddy. I missed him more than I can ever put into words. But it would have been wrong to drag him into the middle of my situation, which was deadly serious. So my plan was to sneak into the Keys on the sly and see what I might do behind the scenes. I brought along some cash for bail, lawyers, bribes, whatever. There was plenty more in a lockbox in Hallandale, though I hear your Aunt Sandy and Uncle Del already helped themselves. Dad said, we don't need any money. Grandpa Bobby raised one silvery eyebrow. Really? Since when did you win the lottery? We'll be fine, but thank you, Pop. He smiled. I understand. Well, I don't. She snatched her hand away from my grandfather. You know what I think? I think you're a big... Abby, knock it off, I said. He saved our lives. Not quite. Some private plane spotted your dinghy and called in the location. Your daddy had his VHF radio dialed to the Coast Guard's channel. Turns out we were only about 3 miles away, so we beat the coasties no sweat. Your daddy's the one who knew where to search. I went along for the ride is all. No, I'm talking about the rescue. I'm not talking about the rescue. I'm talking about what happened on the docks. About Luno and the gun. My mom went stiff. What gun? The guy was going to waste us, Abby burst out. I mean, we were history. Then Noah dived on top of me, and then she nodded toward Grandpa Bobby, he jumped the goon and took the pistol away. Immediately I was sorry that I'd brought it up. My mom's face had gone white. He tried to kill you? She looked at Grandpa Bobby. Is that true? He tried to kill the children? Donna, it was a flare gun. He probably wanted to scare the you-know-what out of them, my grandfather said. Just a flare gun? Abby sounded disappointed. It's still bad, Dad said angrily. He could have set the dinghy on fire, or your clothes. Grandpa Bobby told all of us to calm down. The main thing is nobody got hurt except for Baldy. Now I believe it's Noah's turn to tell us his story. You ready, champ? I guess. My sister pretended to hold her nose. Don't leave out the part about the seagull, she said. I didn't leave out anything, even the stuff that made me look the opposite of brilliant. Nobody interrupted with questions. They just sat there and listened. When I was finished, Dad clicked his teeth and said, You crashed into a manatee? Then Mom said, Who's this Shelley person? Then Abby said, The mermaid's bathroom? You perv. Then Grandpa Bobby stood up and took the chain from around his neck. He placed it in my hand and said, You earned it, Noah. The gold coin on the end of that chain was heavier than any coin I'd ever held. I couldn't believe he was giving it to me. Once belonged to the Queen of Spain, about 400 years ago. Where'd you get it? Dad asked. Won it in a dice game. Or maybe it was poker. Grandpa Bobby shrugged as if he honestly couldn't remember. Come on, troops, let's go for a ride. Where to? I asked. Thunder Beach. Where else?